how do we as business leaders and as women encourage more women to raise their hands and apply for this kind of stuff?
So you have to start with trusting yourself, and you have to start with believing in yourself. And if you believe in yourself, you can get up there and do it.
Hey everyone, it's Jenny Dietrich back with another Fireside Chat for Spin Sucks. I am very, 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 very happy to introduce you to, and some of you probably already know her, Rebekah Iliff. She is the Chief Strategy Officer for AirPR. Previously, she was the CEO of Talk Tech. I always want to do Talk Tech Communications, which means she's definitely one of us. She contributes to Entrepreneur, Huffington Post, and PR Week, and she's written for Mashable and other publications you probably never heard of. She got her bachelor's degree from Loyola right here in Chicago, so I knew when we met that we were meant to be fast friends. She's a communications pro, an agency owner, a Chicagoan, at least at one point. She's from the Midwest. She's data-driven. She's gorgeous both inside and out, and she's ridiculously smart. And she has a master's degree from Antioch University in Los Angeles, so you know she's ridiculously smart. Hi, Rebekah.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, and that was quite an introduction. I feel like the bar's been set really high, and it's still kind of early. So I've got my coffee, coffee cup.
Good.
So
You're good.
Yeah, we're good. I'm
good.
super excited to be here, and I think this has probably been 5 years in the making that we're finally.
Yeah, I think so, because AirPR has been around for 5 years, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah. And we see each other at events like this.
I know. We're both so busy and important.
We are very busy and important.
That's just how it works.
That's true.
Yeah.
So we actually have known each other for, I guess, 5 years. And we met back in the day when you joined AirPR, and you guys were, I'm sure this is not how you described it, but it's how I describe it, a matchmaker of sorts between agencies and tech startups. And I really love how AirPR has evolved. And I'd love to hear the sort of fun, sorted inside baseball history of that.
So, as you said, we started off with a public-facing marketplace, which essentially matched tech PR firms, like smaller tech PR firms, with startups.
Mm-hmm.
And Sharam, who is the CEO and co-founder of AirPR, was at a VC firm. And the genesis of AirPR was really when he was at that firm, and he saw all of the different problems that the portfolio companies were facing with trying to understand, when we launch, who do we go to? And then as a result, what are we looking for? What does success look like? How do we measure this? So that was the genesis of AirPR. And then as we were building the marketplace and bringing on PR professionals and startups to match them, we were simultaneously building the analytics product as you see it today. And so as part of this roadmap, there was kind of this stair effect where we knew if we started with the marketplace, we could build a reputation and credibility in the industry. So people would see us as a knowledgeable source. And it's not just this tech company trying to come in from nowhere to say, hey, we're building this new technology, this new analytics and measurement system that you should use. So we knew that it would take a while to build that trust. And so that was the thinking behind the marketplace. And then about 2 years after that, we launched Analyst, which is really our core product today. And we sold the marketplace in, I think, 2014 now, the end of 2014. So that product, we haven't been running that product for a while.
So it's completely gone off the portfolio, and
it's gone. Mm-hmm. And I think, we still do, I feel like I still do a lot of matchmaking because
of course, like relationships and
so we just kind of do it now. I mean, Sharon and I probably get asked once a week, do you know someone who could be a good fit? So anyway, the love lives on for the marketplace.
Interesting.
But now we're really focused on analytics, insights, and measurement for, it's everyone from Fortune 500 companies to fast-growing tech firms. But, we really fundamentally believe in the PR attribution piece is kind of our bread and butter, the fact that we can show the attribution and not just correlations, cause and effect correlations. We have the technology that can actually map your PR activity and what people are doing back to business impact.
You know, and I love that, obviously, because I'm so data driven, but as you well know, communicators say, well, I went into communications because I'm not good at math. It's not math. It's not math.
Yeah. And math is, I mean, that's a great excuse for not wanting to look at data and numbers. I think anyone who is a human on some level is doing math. So
right.
Shanali Burke actually was on a panel with she and Deidre Breckenridge and Shannon last Friday in New York for NASDAQ. And we had the same conversation. It's like, you know, the second you say that, you're just you're putting yourself in a corner. And why do we do that? You know, why do we say, because I'm a good communicator, I can't also be data driven? It's, you know, numbers are similar to sentences in a sense.
Right.
Know?
Right.
And if you, the first thing we have to do is get rid of that narrative, which is that I'm a communications person, I'm not good at math, because it's, you know, pretty rudimentary that everyone has to know something about math. And then also, if you really want to be a good communicator, you should want to look at the data. You should want technology to enable you to do your job better. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're going to be automating critical thinking or discernment or good judgment or relationships. It just means do those activities that I'm expending extraordinary amounts of energy on, are they doing anything
right
towards the goal that I'm setting out?
Yes.
So I think it's just a miscommunication. And I think it's really easy to just say things for the sake of saying them without thinking about really what it means and how you're, I think, marginalizing yourself in a sense as a communications pro.
And I think to that point too, you know, data gives you the information that you need to be able to show this work. So if you want to say, okay, we've increased brand awareness and that's what you're about, then data gives you that information.
Yeah. And likewise, it can also show you what you're not doing well so that
Correct.
You can improve. And I think this fear around, I'm going to get fired, I'm going to fail, or it's not good enough is something that again, it's the marginalization. If you are confident in your work and you're doing good work, you want that data so you can see. A lot of times people can't see what they're doing really well. And so as a result, they're missing on both ends. They're not understanding what's going well, and they're not understanding then what's not going well.
Right.
And the more we refuse to look at the full picture and the full information, the less likely we are to have success on some level.
So what are when you guys talk internally at AirPR, what are some of the things that you say, you know, from a PR attribution standpoint, these are the things that communicators should be paying attention to?
So I think fundamentally it's three things. It's how many people are coming to our site as a result of the activity. So let's say you get a placement on CNN or Wall Street Journal. Who's coming to the site? Not who necessarily, but how many?
How many? Yep.
And then once they're there, what are they doing? Are they downloading a white paper? Are they looking at the leadership page? Are they signing up for a job of some sort? So what is that? You know, what does that look like? And then third is how you're comparing to your competitive set and around certain messages. So understanding, okay, we just launched this campaign. Did that message stick? Are we gaining mind share? So we have this feature we call Power of Voice. I think we've talked about it. And it essentially means we're weighting the content beyond just, you know, the Detroit Daily News and the Wall Street Journal. That's share of voice. So those things in the technology that stands today, a lot of the software today, those things are weighted the same. It's not. The Wall Street Journal is to be weighted higher than the Detroit Daily News. So understanding that power that your content has as opposed to just one for one, that's the other really important metric. So, and here's why it matters is because, as you know, PR professionals today, whether it's like old school or, the younger generation, they're still being taught to send out press releases to 1,000 people,
right?
Because it's a quantity, and they think, okay, if I'm doing this activity, then it means that I'm doing my job. But what it actually means is you may not be looking at the 5 people that matter and that will have a higher probability of giving you coverage. And so by weighting those different publications and understanding which ones really matter, you can then create a different strategy based on that. And I think as a PR professional, you know this to be true. When you get, when you send out a press release and then it's listed on Yahoo News and CNN Money, just as a press release, those are great. That's great, but it doesn't drive anyone to your site. It's a nice, pretty logo to have on your report.
Yes,
but it's not really that effective.
Okay, so I have 2 questions in there. So hang on, I got to jot this down so I don't forget the second one. One of the things that you guys are doing, and by the time everybody sees this video, your blog post will have run on Spin Sucks on this, but one of the things you guys are doing is showing not just the power of voice and weighting the different publications or media outlets, but also I don't know how to explain it. I'll let you explain it. The pieces in there that say, okay, this is a human, this is a computer, this is a bot, this is, what I'm talking about, like the different, how it analyzes the copy of the actual article.
Yeah, so that's all machine learning based, but I think that what most communicators, and myself included, I mean, I have learned so much from working with brilliant engineers and technologists that are patient with me and understanding our data scientists, Fletcher and Raj and Patrick and the whole team. But what we are not taught as communicators now in a digital environment is that to break down the structure of a sentence in order to be able to pull through into like some sort of measurement technology requires there to be, machine learning behind that and artificial intelligence that can map those things and match them with something that matters to you. So in a sense, we should be, it's not, okay, so I'm going to try to give an example, and I don't know if this makes sense, but today I think that headlines are written as clickbait.
Yes.
But people look at that and they say, oh, it's clickbait. Part of the reason that's done is so that, because when you write a certain way, it's much easier for a machine to decipher what it is you're saying and what it maps to. This is why it's so easy to understand the tone of a tweet as opposed to the tone of a 150 word article, because it's very hard to know what that sentiment is because there's so much content. And so, kind of going off on a tangent, but I think that it's lost on PR professionals and I would say professional content creators that, sure, you can create a press release and a piece of content and throw it out to the world, but you have to understand that the way that a machine looks at those words is like they would a data set, and it's very linear a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can all do ourselves a favor by understanding more concretely how to structure things and where to put messages in, and even, this goes to SEO as well, so that we have a better chance of being able to track something. One of the big challenges with, being a PR pro today is that, and with technologies not like ours, but most technologies out there are mapping, like if you have a link in a story and someone clicks on that link right when they read it and go to your site, GA, Google Analytics, and Adobe Analytics track that. But the problem comes when they go futz around on Facebook or check their bank statement,
and then come back.
Or there's no link, which journalists will, journalists literally said to me, it's not our job to increase your SEO. And I'm thinking, well, that's not what I was asking for. I'm just saying, like, wouldn't it make sense that there's a link there and you would have a link back to the site? But a lot of them won't do it just simply because they were digging their heels in, which again, not saying it's not the right thing. It's not right or wrong. It's just, I think.
Well, it helps their SEO to have external links too. So
it does, but less than 15% of articles that we see that we have stored into perpetuity have links back to a site.
Really?
less than 15% for the most part on average. So so what's happening is you're missing 75 to 85 to even sometimes 95% of that attribution data,
right,
because of this problem. And so I think it's just to kind of bring it full circle back to the AI and machine learning and all these fancy terms that people use, us included, because it's relevant. But all it really means is understand that every time you're forming a paragraph and you're forming a sentence and you're, creating a story, a machine has to go, and machines still are not as smart as humans on some level in the creative part.
Right.
But, look at the way you're structuring things and understand that getting key messages in there and saying things in a certain way will only benefit you. And you have to think about, particularly in owned media where you have control, how is all that mapping back to the things you care about? So I don't know. It's very, I think it's super fascinating. And I think it's the one area where PR pros will have to continue to get better and better, because it's no longer about, okay, the SEO. It's about if this is going through a platform or a technology that is driven by artificial intelligence and machine learning, then we better have a unified message across the board, because that makes it easier. The machines get smarter. And if you're just going out into the ether with 10,000 different messages, it's very hard to decipher what's working and what's not.
Well, and it's hard if you're doing that. It's hard for your prospect too, because
Right.
they can't decipher it either. So if a machine can't decipher it, then certainly a human cannot.
Right. Well, and we talked about this too on the NASDAQ panel. I think that unfortunately PR professionals many times are under the thumb of a ego-driven CEO or someone who really doesn't understand these things. And so they're going, okay, well, so-and-so is asking me to get this message out. And then they're inserting some stupid quote that sounds like a machine wrote it, I'm just going to make this up, but today we are very excited to launch our product into the marketplace. And we hope that customers, quoted by Jim Johnson. And it's like, really, Jim Johnson? Did you really say that?
Did you really say that?
Sounds like an idiot. And it doesn't sound like anyone should be interested in what you're doing. So in a sense, it's you have to have a human element to all of the content that you're writing, and you have to approach it like you would a human. And then you have to understand that the machines are there to help us decipher when you're human, when you act like a human, these are the things that people appreciate and that is resonating with people. So I don't know. I think it's tough. It's really tough, and it's really complex. Just like anything really good in life, it's more often than not, it's complex.
Right.
The simple things are great and they're surface level, but we're talking about very deeply embedded ways of operating and thinking that, it's going to take a long time for people to change. I mean, we see that for sure. And it's not just PR people, we're really looking at digital marketers, content creators, PR professionals just happen to get tasked with these things most of the time.
Right.
So anyway, I don't even know what the original question was.
A couple of things that I think it's interesting to talk about. So the missing link piece of it. So when you're, one of the things that we teach through Spin Sucks is always ask for the link. And in my experience, obviously some people are going to say no. TechCrunch never, ever, ever includes a link, but pretty much everybody we've ever asked has. So I always say, ask for the link, because the worst they're going to say is no, right?
Right.
And if the journalist says no, you can always go to the digital guys at the publication. That's just a little trick in the trade. But what's your recommendation there? Because you're right, we can't attribute any results if we don't have that link.
I mean, the obvious recommendation is that you need to buy our technology, but no, but
okay.
that's part of it, and it is, so yes, ask for the link for sure. It doesn't matter though. You're still going to miss 90% of it, because most people, they want to read the whole article. So they'll read it and then they'll maybe click on the link, but then they may go do something else. So it's just it's really hard. So you have to, if you really want a full picture, and I think we always talk about this, if you have like 20 to 30 pieces of content going out a month, PR content, whether it's owned or earned, you really need an attribution model. You really do. If you have less than that, you could probably get away with just correlating things via website traffic spikes and using Google Analytics and Adobe Analytics and kind of cobbling together reports. I think the companies that have the most success with attribution, with a real PR attribution, and I would just call it a content attribution, digital content attribution model, are the ones that are expending tremendous amount of effort on getting messages out and, sending out, they have a thought leadership platform, they have product announcements, because then you really have something to analyze.
Right.
When you have less than 20 pieces of content, and by that, again, just to repeat, owned media, meaning your blog or what have you, and then earned media as well, which is editorial content, and anything that's, relatively thought leadership based. Then you really get into, wow, I'm probably missing a lot of stuff when you can't properly attribute it back. Attribute. That's a fun one. Attribute. We have many
depends on where you are in the country.
Yeah, it depends on where you are and how you're saying it. But so I think there's a point at which it really matters, and I think with startups and smaller companies that aren't producing that much content, it may not be as relevant. But when you're pumping out content regularly and you're spending, $10,000 to $20,000 a month on a PR agency, you really should know what it's doing for the business. I mean, otherwise you're just shooting a bullet into a forest. I mean, it makes no sense.
What if a bullet into a forest? I've never heard that.
I think I just combined two.
I think you did too. I kind of like it, actually.
I think it's a tree falls in a forest, and then
throwing spaghetti against the wall. I don't know. I like the bullet against the forest. I'm totally using that, and I'm going to quote you when I say it. What if you work for a smaller agency or a smaller company that is pumping out that much content, but you don't have the budget for an AirPR?
Well, I mean, AirPR, we have customers paying $800 a month, and we have customers paying, upwards of
more than that,
$1,000 a year. So it depends. I think everything's negotiable to a degree. I mean, I think that we certainly are more expensive than a lot, and the reason we're more expensive is because we have a product that shows you something that you couldn't see before. So obviously, and that requires more technologists. It requires just a lot more on the back end, because when you're integrating with a GA or Adobe Analytics, and then you're working with publisher data and all this other stuff, it's going to be a little more pricey. But I think if you're spending, I would say if you're spending $10,000 a month on an agency, you should have some sort of measurement.
Absolutely.
Technology, and I'm assuming most people are. I think if you are at a brand and you have, 2-3 people internally at a PR team, it's hard a lot of times because brands don't look at like a PR spend if they don't have an agency. So it's more like, what are you willing to invest in something that could tell you something about your business? Is it $1,000 a month? Is it $5,000 a month? A lot of it just depends on the brand and how much they're spending on PR and how much effort's going into it. So I think it's all, again, this is the tricky part. It depends on who it is and what matters to them. If they have a CMO breathing down their neck that says, we're not seeing a return on this, and we think, PR isn't doing anything, then you're definitely going to want to state your case for the work that you're doing, hoping, that it's a positive result. And I think that's another issue PR people have to get over is, is this going to make me look bad?
Well, I'd rather know that's going to make me look bad so I can tweak it than to get fired.
Well, you would, not to be argumentative,
fair.
you would, because you're Jeannie,
Fair.
Jeannie Dietrich, and you have your own firm and you've been in the industry. When you're looking at a 25-year-old, account executive,
Right.
or account coordinator who's being tasked with these things and is afraid of losing their job, I get it.
I get it too.
I empathize with that. I mean, those are the folks that are being required to report. It's not the necessary, well, sometimes it is, but it's not necessarily like someone at a VP level. They're looking at the gal or the guy down on the management level saying, okay, give us a report on all the work that you're doing that I've mandated. So I think that's where it gets tricky.
All right, one more question, then we're going to do our lightning round, which I did not include in my notes, so you're not expecting it.
Ruh-roh.
You talked about, CEO expectations and ego-driven executives and those kinds of things. How do communicators get past that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think part of it is in confidence, building confidence around your work.
Sure.
But explain that a little bit more. Like, how would you, like?
Well, like if you have a client or an exec who says, I have a great example. We have a former client who went to another company just a couple of weeks ago, and her new CEO keeps saying, I want impressions, I want impressions, I want impressions. And she keeps saying to us, because, she worked with us for so many years, I don't know how to get past this, because as we all know, impressions, that's what he keeps asking for, impressions and advertising equivalency. And she's like, so she, we've been coaching her through how to have that conversation, but I'm curious.
Yeah, it is tricky. Although I would say that oftentimes with things like that, the person who's asking hasn't been given a different alternative.
Right.
And so I think this is why data is so important. So if you have an alternative, and you can have her email me, and I'm happy to give her, we have these kind of sample reports that will show people and say, it's like benchmarking reports, and here's why it matters. We have some literature around that. I'm happy to share those things with her. But the real question is, do you care about quantity or do you care about quality? Because what I care, and I'm pretending like I'm her, giving a lecture to the CEO. That's what I really love to do. No, Mr. CEO. Do you care about quantity or do you care about quality? Because if you care about quantity, then we can continue to blast out spam press releases to journalists, and we can continue to send out press releases over the wire, and we can continue to report on impressions and AVEs, and that's fine. However, if you want to understand what our PR activity is doing for your business,
yes,
and how many people are coming to your site as a result, what they're engaging with, and a high quality understanding of what kind of content is driving people to take some sort of action, because this is what PR is. It's a demand generation tool,
right?
In a sense, right? So, or lead generation, or whatever you want to call it. That's the point, is to bring in those top of funnel potential customers and constituents, an audience that could be interested in your brand. So I think it's a quality versus quantity conversation. And then I think you have to show them, so when you're reporting on quality, this is what you can show. You can show X drives Y equals Z for the next round. When you're reporting on quantity, then it's like, we got X number. What does that tell you?
Right.
Nothing. It's a number. It tells you nothing. So but to be fair, the problem that PR people face a lot of times is that, well, two things. One, there's a legacy of, I almost said a bad word, of bad PR. So people, any CEO you talk to has been burned at least once,
of course,
by a PR firm.
Yep.
That doesn't do a good job. And that can be for a variety of reasons. It's not always the PR person's fault. Sometimes it's they didn't have access to what they needed.
Yep.
Sometimes the product's just shoddy and no one cares, and that happens too. But it's a legacy of bad PR, and it's also this idea around you know, people need trust to build trust. And it's hard right at first for a PR person to have that trust with someone. And so I think over time, as you prove yourself to be knowledgeable and a critical thinker, and you start to get some wins under your belt, then a CEO or a CMO or whomever is more likely to say, you know what, Sally, you've been right 5 times out of 7. That's good enough for me. I'm not going to question what you're doing. I mean, part of that, just, we take that for granted. Like, you can't just walk in to an organization and say, unless you're you, I mean, again, or someone who's has a track record of success over a long period of time.
Right.
Comes in as the expert, which is not how PR people are set up, by the way.
Right.
They're not set up
at all
like that. They're set up as, this person has contacts, you're going to strip them of all their relationships, and then you're going to get some press, and then we're going to be on our merry way.
Yep.
That's the problem.
Yep.
You know, they're not coming in as the expert because they don't have any data. They can't sit at the table and say, here's what we've learned, and here's the numbers, and here's what we suggest. And that's what we're trying to change. And then I'll get off my soapbox, but that's the fundamental problem.
I love your soapbox.
They don't come in. Thank you. It's really pretty. It has ribbons on it. And,
Sparkles.
Pictures of unicorns and rainbows. Yes. So I think that's the real problem that no one's addressing, is that PR people are not set up for success because they're seen as someone in the organization that fixes problems, that deals with the crisis, that, you know, their job is to get the story out about a product, as opposed to someone who has deep industry and business knowledge and can help make decisions for the business. That's a totally different thing. You can do that. You know, Shonali Burke can do that. Deidre Breckenridge can do that. Shannon Fury can do that. But again, if you're talking about just the average PR person, a 28-year-old, usually female, she does not have that power. She just doesn't. And that's a problem. And I don't know if that's ever going to change. I don't know. It only changes when you have data.
Right.
It only changes when you come into the room and you say, don't look at me. Don't look at my resume. Don't look at my experience. Look at the data.
Look at what I just pulled for you.
Look at what I just pulled for you. That's the only way it changes. Yep. Okay, I'm stepping down now, and I'm going to have some more coffee.
I don't know. I think we should continue this conversation. All right. Speed round. The point is, I ask you a question, you answer no. You don't get to...
I can't say no. I don't want to answer that.
No, you don't.
Okay.
You ready?
It's nothing crazy.
It's not.
Okay.
What's your favorite blog other than Spin Sucks?
Brain Pickings.
Oh, that's a good one. Favorite podcast?
The Nerdist and Econ Talk by Russ Roberts.
All right, I will accept
Sorry.
I'll accept it.
Okay, thanks.
Which book changed your life?
Atlas Shrugged.
Oh, good one. I just reread that a couple months ago, I mean. Very good one.
All 1,600 pages.
Yeah. It was,
I know, it's brutal.
Coffee or tea?
It depends. Usually coffee.
Coffee right now.
Right now, coffee, yeah.
What was your last vacation?
I went to a ranch in Colorado called Lost Valley with my family. It's a place we go every year.
I feel like we should come back to that.
Yes,
favorite snack?
I'm even wearing my horse shirt. Is that inappropriate?
I love it.
This is from my friend Elizabeth. She has a brand called Stick and Ball, and it's like an equestrian inspired brand, and she makes all sorts of cool.
That's cool. I'm gonna write that down.
Stick and Ball. It's
what's
polo.
your favorite snack?
I really like almonds. Is that weird?
I really like almonds too.
It's a good protein packed snack.
What's the best meal you've ever had?
Oh gosh. Probably at some point my grandmother's fried chicken.
Oh, look at you. Wow.
Yeah, it's super Southern, but
I love that.
I love fried chicken.
As much as you've traveled, that's your favorite. I love that.
Isn't that so lame?
No, it's not.
It's super lame, but I don't want fried chicken and waffles. Oh, okay. So here's one. I was in Memphis following one of my friend's bands around the Southern Road Tour. It's like it's a girl. It's like a weird groupie friend thing. And I went to New Orleans, Birmingham, and Memphis. And in Memphis, I had a really good, like fried chicken on waffle.
Yeah.
sandwich.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of my favorite. Yeah.
Good to know you like the
Yeah, I
chicken.
really like fried chicken. Yeah. I'm expecting fried chicken in the mail from you, by the way.
Yeah, I will make sure that happens.
Delivery. Yeah.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Ooh. That I can talk about. Probably. So, no, I'm just kidding. So I love driving I now live in Nashville, but I really love driving from San Francisco to Sonoma with my windows down and my country music on, and then going and spending time with, I call her my like Jewish mom. And that sounds really stupid, but it's like, for me, being in the country and like in wine country,
Yeah.
it's like blasting music with the windows down.
Yes.
And feeling like that's, and I don't even know if that's a guilty pleasure. It's more like my safe place.
I love it.
But yeah. And then of course, like lots of wine and chocolate.
Well, yeah. I mean, how can you beat that?
That's at the end of that.
You can't beat that.
Yeah.
For writing, pen, paper, or laptop?
Oh, so again, that depends. If I'm on, it depends on what I'm writing. I sometimes start on paper, like in my journal with concepts, especially because I write a lot when I travel. So, and I don't have access to a computer, and then I write on a laptop. But yeah. And I also
appreciate that you take notes in the bathroom on your Apple Notes.
Oh my gosh! Don't tell everyone that. It's so embarrassing. Yes, I do that.
The things I know about you.
I know. How do you even know that? Did I share that with you somewhere?
There was something we were working on. Can't remember what it was, but you said, I'm taking notes in the bathroom.
I'm like,
here's
a really good example. Like, here's a Post-it that's sitting on my table. I'm also like a crazy Post-it person. Yeah. And I'm like, and they're all over. And then at the end of the day, I'll like put them down like all together, and I'll take, and I just feel like the process of writing for me is also like physically writing is very cathartic.
I think too, it helps you remember things.
Agreed.
You're supposed to do that anyway. I don't know if that's true or not, but
yeah.
All right. Last question. What's your latest binge?
Well, Big Little Lies.
Oh,
You've been watching or been?
I loved it.
That, and then I'm also going through House of Cards.
Yep, I just finished that yesterday.
Which super crazy.
Last 2 episodes. Wait.
I know. I'm very excited about that.
Nelly. What's next for you?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. I mean, I think with AirPR, we're really just trying to expand the kind of the reach beyond PR. So, and Sherm and I were just having a great conversation about this yesterday, and it's PR people, it's content creators, it's communicators of all types who are generating content. That's really what it is. User generated content, journalist generated content, and trying to take PR outside of just thinking about it in terms of the press release. So from a company standpoint, that's where we're going. And I think that we'll continue to gain traction and credibility around that, and just continuing to grow internally with people and everything. And then, I mean, just going to New Mexico in like 3 weeks for vacation.
Love it.
Which will be great. Yeah. So.
Well, thank you. It's really good to talk to you.
Yeah,
you have my brain churning, so that's always good.
That's good. And I appreciate you having me on, and look forward to next time. And your visit. When are you coming to visit?
Now I have to come to Nashville.
Close. You're super close though. It's like a 45-minute flight. It's so.
I could just ride my bike down.
You could just ride. It is within the scope of your biking.
It is within the scope.
You're crazy. What are you going to do next? Like join or run a?
I don't know. I've been thinking about doing some big bike ride in August in Utah. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, keep me posted.
I will. It's good to see you.
Signing off.